So this is Nirbhay, and in this video we will be seeing the complete setup of OpenVPN server on an AWS EC2 Linux instance, and we will be creating a private EC2 instance, and we will be installing OpenVPN client into our system, and with the help of that OpenVPN client we will try to make the SSH communication to this private EC2 instance. Okay, so as you can see on my screen, firstly what we need to do, we will be creating an VPC, and we will be creating two subnets, that is a public subnet and a private subnet, and then we will be creating an internet gateway so that resources deployed into our public subnet will have internet access, and similarly we will be adding routes towards the internet gateway, and we will be creating a private route table also, and at the last we will be installing OpenVPN client into our system, and using that OpenVPN client we will make the SSH communication to this private EC2 instance. Okay, so firstly what we need to do, we need to create this VPC. So let I go to console, and here you can see I have already opened the VPC section. If you have not, you can simply open that VPC section, and now click on create VPC. So VPC only. So let I name it as demo VPC, and CRD range, let I give it as 10.0.0/16. Okay, so I have already provided it here also. Simply create VPC. So our VPC has been created. So the next step is we need to create this public subnet as well as this private subnet. So let I go back to console and subnet and create subnet and VPC. Which VPC? Our demo VPC. So let I name our subnet as public subnet. Public, and availability zone, let I select 1A, CRD range. So let I give it as 10.0.1.0/24. Okay. So I have also given over here, and as we want to create one more subnet, that is for private subnet. So let I click on this add new subnet, and this time I will name it as private subnet. Availability zone, let I select again that only. You can select other also for high availability. CID range, let I give it as 10.0.2.0/24. Okay, so this CID range I am giving, and let us simply hit on create subnet. So now our both subnets, that is our public and private subnet, has been created. So the next step is we need to create this internet gateway and attach to our VPC. So let I click on this internet gateway and create internet gateway. So let I name it as demo IGW and create internet gateway. So this has been created. Let I attach it to VPC and attach internet gateway. So this internet gateway has been attached to our VPC. Okay, so the next step is we need to create this public route table as well as this private route table. Okay, so let I first create this public route table, route tables, create route tables. Let I name it as public RT for route table, which VPC, our demo VPC, create route table. Similarly, let I create private route table. So go back to route tables, create route table, and this time private -RT, which VPC, our demo VPC table. Now our both route tables has been created, that is our public route table as well as our private route table. So the next step is we need to associate this public route table with this public subnet and this private route table with this private subnet. So let's go to the console and public route table, and in subnet association, click on edit subnet association. With subnet, with public route table, we are associating our public subnet. So I will be selecting our public subnet and save association. Similarly, I need to associate this private route table with this private subnet. So again go back to console and select your private route table and go to subnet association, edit subnet association. Now with the subnet, our private subnet, save association. Okay, so we have successfully associated our public route table with our public subnet and private route table with our private subnet. So the next step is we need to add the routes towards the internet gateway for this route table inside the route, so that resources deployed in the public subnet will have internet access. So let's go back and select the public RT and route and edit route towards what we are adding route towards internet. So means we need to add towards 000, and target will be through what it is going. It is going through internet gateway. So our target will be our internet gateway. Which internet gateway? That we created earlier. That was our demo IGW, and click on save this. Okay, so we have successfully added the routes towards internet gateway in the route of our public route table. So the next step is we need to spin up this OpenVPN server into our public subnet. Okay, so let's go to our console and this time search for EC2. Let I open in a new tab. Okay, I will be hitting on this launch instance. Let I name it as OpenVPN server, and AMI type I am selecting as Ubuntu only, and instance type let I keep it as T2 micro for free tier eligibility, and in key pair I will be selecting my existing key pair only, that is test key, and in network let I click on edit which VPC we are deploying into our demo VPC. So I will be selecting our demo VPC. Now which subnet? It's our public subnet. So I will be selecting our public subnet only, and I am enabling this auto assign public IP as it is our public EC2 instance. Security group let I name it as it is only. SSH we are allowing SSH communication from anywhere. So let I keep it that on. If you are in a production environment, you can allow specific IPs only. Okay. So let I simply click on launch instance. So meanwhile, our OpenVPN server is launching. So let us create this private EC2 instance also. So again go to instance and launch instance. Let I name it as private, and again flavor I will be selecting as Ubuntu, and instance type again T2.micro only. Key pair login I will be selecting test key only, and in networking I will be selecting our demo VPC subnet. Which subnet now we are deploying into our private subnet. So I will be selecting our private subnet. Auto assign public IP I am keeping as disable only, as it is our private EC2 instance. EC2 instance all thing. Okay. And now here is the important part. In SSH type we are allowing from anywhere that we don't want. We want communication to happen only from our OpenVPN server. Okay. So the source type should be custom, and source IP will be what? It will be our IP address of our OpenVPN server. So let I open this instance tab in a new tab, and you can see our OpenVPN server is launching. So its private IP was this 10.0.1.166. Okay, so you can allow this also, or you can allow the subnet also if that is the only one server into that subnet. Okay, so I am copying this IP and custom, and in source I will be pasting that followed by /32, as it is not a range, it is a specific IP. Okay, and description OpenVPN server, and simply I can hit on launch instance. So our private EC2 instance is also in a launching state. Okay, so let us wait for few seconds till its status check get fast in 2x2 check pass. So now after few seconds, as I refresh, the status check for our OpenVPN server is now with 2x2 check pass. Okay, so let us simply click on connect. So I am connecting to this OpenVPN server so that we can configure our OpenVPN server inside that. Okay, now you can see I have successfully logged into my OpenVPN. Okay, so I have written these few commands that are required in order to install this OpenVPN server onto our Ubuntu Linux instance. Okay, so firstly what we will be doing, we will be updating and upgrading all packages inside our Linux system. Okay, so I will be copying this and I will be simply pasting. So it will take few seconds. So after a minute, all the packages inside my EC2 instance has been successfully upgraded. So as a next step, let's check the public IP for this EC2 instance. Okay, so we can copy this, call ifconfig.me, and if I paste, so it will be showing its public IP, that was 3.109.60.168. So the next step is we need to download this OpenVPN script. Okay, so how we need to copy this command? So if I do ll, you can see it has downloaded that OpenVPN script. Okay, so the next step is, as we have downloaded that, now we need to install that. So from what? We need to copy this sudo bash openvpn-install.sh. So now it is asking the IP address. So what IP address we need to provide? We need to provide our public IP address. Okay, so if it was an elastic IP, so make sure to provide that only. So what was our IP address? That was 3.109.60.168, as it was written over here that we have fetched earlier. Okay, so I will be simply clicking enter, and it is asking, do you want to enable IPv6 support? So it is asking what port do you want VPN to listen to? Okay. So default port is 1194. So I will be providing 1. And what protocol do you want OpenVPN to use? So first by default is UDP. So again enter. Okay. It is asking what DNS resolver do you want to use with a VPN? Okay. So DNS resolver can be any like Google or it can be anything. So, okay. So by default it is selected as 11, that is AD card DNS. Okay. So don't know whether it was configured in our EC2 instance or not. So for safer side, let's go with the current system resolver. Okay, that was configured at this location. So I will be keeping it as 1. Now it is asking, do you want to use compression? So simply say no. Customize encryption setting? No. And it is asking to continue with any key. So enter. Okay. So now it is asking to enter the client name. So let I name it as Nirbhay and enter. It is asking whether we want a passwordless client or you want a password for the client. So let I go with 2. I want a password and I will be entering the password. Again, re-enter. Okay. So now our OpenVPN server has been successfully configured and a client is also created. Okay. So its home directory was this home/ubuntu nirbhay.ovpn. Okay. So from here we can get its configuration detail. So let's copy that, and in order to get that configuration detail, so I will be hitting this cat and file destination, which was this server ubuntu/nirbhay.ovpn. So I will be simply hitting on enter. Okay, so it will provide this key something. Okay, so what you need to do, you need to copy this key from where, if you go above, you can see here we fired our command. So from client till the bottom we need to copy. Okay, till the second last one. So I will be simply clicking copy. One thing you need to make sure that this remote IP should match to your public IP of your EC2 instance. Okay. So what was our public IP of our EC2 instance? It was 3.109.60.168. Okay. So it is same. Okay. Sometimes it differs. So that time we need to make changes into this configuration file also. Okay. So as this time is normal, so we can ignore this. So as I have already copied this configuration from this client in this thread. Okay. So let I once more copy, and this time I open a notepad and in a new tab let I paste that, and I will be saving this. Save it with the same client name, that was Nirbhay, and at the last I need to provide OVPN. Okay, and type as all. Okay, but before we move further, one step you have seen in this, like this OpenVPN server was accessible on port 1194. Okay, on Unity. So we need to allow that into the security group in the environment. Okay, so in the security group of OpenVPN server, open that security group and edit environment rules. Now add a rule for custom UDP. Okay, the port will be 1194 and source will be any, as we want anyone to make communication to this VPN with their ID and password. So let I name it as OpenVPN and save it. Okay, so the next step is we need to install this OpenVPN client into our local system. Okay, so let's go to the Chrome and new tab and search for OpenVPN client. Okay, so you can search from here also OpenVPN client and download. So it will open this kind of page. So you have to go with the first page only, that is openvpn.net. So if you go here, like you can see for different platforms that client is available. Okay, so as we are proceeding with Windows, so I can simply hit on this download MSI. So I have already downloaded that. Okay, you can see over here, and so I can simply open that OpenVPN. You can see this was the app. Okay, but before configuring anything, okay, let's try what is our current public IP. Okay, so you can simply write what is my IP. Click on first link only. Okay, so it will automatically detect your public IP. So it says it is 157.15.251.225. Okay, so that's okay. So let's try now to connect to our private EC2 instance as still we are not connected to our VPN. Okay, so let's try whether it is accessible or not. So let I select this private EC2 instance and click on this connect and on SSH. Okay, so let I copy this command to SSH, and this was the key that this instance used, that was test key. So I have that key placed into my folder. Okay, so let I open this folder via git bash. Okay, so this is something that allows me to run Linux command. Okay, so if I do ll, so you can see that my testg.pam file is available. In that, write permission has been removed. So it was not removed. So you can run this first command to remove that. Okay, so as I have already removed, so I will be copying this and simply I will try to SSH whether it is accessible or not. See, this, so you can see it will not accessible because we are into another network and this is in another network. Okay, so this will not work. So in order to make it work, what we need to do, we need to access it by connecting to our VPN. Okay, so there are two options, URL and upload file. So click on upload file and click on browse. Okay, now browse what? To our OVPN file that we have saved. Okay, so I will be selecting this Nirbhay and open. So simply click on connect. Now it asks for password. So enter the password that we have provided during the client configuration. Okay, so now you can see it has been successfully connected. Okay, so let's open a new tab and now let's try what is my public IP. What is my IP? And click on again the first link. So now you can see the IP is showing as 3.109.60.168. So if you remember, okay, so this was the public IP of our OpenVPN server, that was 3.109.60.168. So if I control F, so you can see this was the same. Okay, so now as we have connected to this our OpenVPN server, and from that OpenVPN server our private EC2 instance has connectivity by using that security group. So now let's try whether we are able to connect to our private EC2 instance or not. Okay, so let's copy that command again, that was SSH-i test key. Okay, or either you can press up arrow key also. Let I enter. So now you can see it is asking for yes or no. So let I give it as yes, and now you can see I am successfully connected to my private EC2 instance. So let I clear. Okay, so this was the IP 10.0.2.19. Okay, see, this was the private IP of our EC2 instance, that is 10.0.2.19. So this method was making the communication by using OpenVPN client for a Windows system. Okay, so similarly you can make the communication for Linux also. Okay, so in Linux system, what you need to do, you need to first move or create the contents of OVPN file into the Linux environment. Okay, so basically what you need to create this nirbhay.ovpn or with your client name into that Linux system. So once that is created, what you need to do, you need to use this two command. Okay, that is sudo apt-install.ovpn. So once that is installed, you need to use this command where it says sudo ovpn config and file name.ovpn. So in file name you need to replace with file name, that in my case it was nirbhay. Okay, so you need to fire this command. So once you fire this command into Linux system, so from Linux system itself you will be connected to the VPN. So similarly, if you want to use this OpenVPN client for other platform, so there are various platform available. Like for Android, you can click on Android. You can see there is an application that is available on Google Play, and similarly for Mac OS, if you go and if you see this view installation guide, so inside that package is download. So firstly you need to download that package. Once that is downloaded, you can open and import that file like we did in our Windows, and you can make the communication. Now, providing the summary of this whole video, what we did, we created an VPC, we created two subnets, that is our public subnet and a private subnet. We created internet gateway and we attached it to the VPC, and we created public route table as well as private route table. We associated this public route table with the public subnet and private route table with the private subnet, and we added the route in the route table of the public RT towards the internet gateway so that resources deployed into our public subnet will have internet access. And later we created OpenVPN server into public subnet and private EC2 into our private subnet. We configured OpenVPN server by using this command that I will be provided in the comment section, and we installed OpenVPN client into our local Windows system, and we connected to the VPN by using this file that we created. Okay, so once that connection was successful, we made the SSH communication from our Windows system to this private EC2 instance. So if this video was helpful to you, so please like, subscribe and share this video. And if you have any doubts, then feel free to comment in the comment section. Till now, bye bye.